What's up everyone, it's Wade from PS2D, and in this video I've decided to take my first impressions, initial thoughts, summary video type thing around Project Cars 2, and just the fact that a lot of people have been contacting the page over the last sort of 48 hours just asking me, what do I think of the game? So why not put something together in this space here, put it out to the page and see whether it's meeting or synthesizing with some of the thoughts that other PSGDers have. Now, I want to caveat immediately, this, as far as I'm aware, is a 9-minute and 50-second video. So if you want to skip ahead, you can probably skip ahead to probably halfway through, where I actually show two different clips driving two different cars. And that's basically what I wanted to talk about in this particular video. Now, a lot of people have been saying, look, it's buggy, the graphics are a bit out, etc. I don't know where it's at. I think people are looking at probably even taking it back. And one of the things that we always focus on, and this builds into something, is a game's accessibility. Now, Project Cars 2, I'll get it out of the way with, is like big time sim. I mean, we're talking iRacing and whatnot. This is the biggest step forward in terms of a simulator, not Gran Turismo Sport, but a simulator on the PlayStation 4. And I think that coming from Project Cars 1 into this space is a significant step. Now, when we talk about accessibility, I really like talking about how easily can I pick this up and how easily can other PSGDers pick this up. This game, it's not easy to pick up. I mean, you've got to be very, very familiar with Project Cars 1 in order to pick this up and to have some form of success in it. But even people that I'm talking to who played Project Cars substantially over the course of its lifespan on the 4 are struggling in Project Cars 2. So that's some really, really interesting comments. And I think another thing I also want to get out was, if you have on one side of the scale Drive Club and on the other side of the scale Project Cars, you've got sort of GT Sport over halfway. This is pure sim. There's no doubt about it. So the accessibility for this game is quite tough. It's very tricky. You've really got to bear with it, and you've got to push through, and you've got to think about things in terms of real life. When you're out on the street and you're coming into an intersection and you're going too fast, you put on the brakes and you monitor how you're braking, you watch that pressure and whatnot, and you make sure that you come up before whatever line it is. Or if you're sort of taking a bend a little bit quicker than normal, you're kind of feeling the car out to see where that balance is. Where's that load residing? Is it in the back? Is it behind me? Is the front? Is the hood of the car sticking down? It just depends. So I want to talk you through these couple of laps. So the first car that I picked out was an SLS AMG GTS, I think it is. It's one of my favorite cars. Absolutely love it. And what I decided to do is to bring up the data of what's actually happening across the tires and the brakes. Because I tell you what, without that, I don't think you can make inroads if you're picking this game up for the first time. This car is a rear-wheel drive car with a front-mounted engine, so there's all this power, 600 odd kilowatts, I don't know, going through the rear of the car. So it's like lifting the car up. And you'll watch me come into this turn, I sort of turn in, and then the back starts slipping out. I'm trying to manage that. It's slipped just there, and then I've got to straighten it up. So the whole time I'm trying to watch where my tyre temperatures are. You can't take a car of this nature out in your very first lap of Project Cars 2 and expect to be quick. You got to get your brakes up, you got to get them up to temperature, and you got to get your tyres up to temperature too, because otherwise it just feels like you're skating on ice. Now you can see my brake temperatures and my tyre temperatures there, and as they grow, I'm more confident to start pushing that car a little bit more. Now, one of the really interesting things about this particular car, and this is where we start getting into the sim space, is like, even though this is a video game, I was legitimately concerned about holding my throttle flat out through some of these turns. Because I knew up here, and it's hard to articulate, that the front end wouldn't turn properly, like it would understeer. It was just too quick for it. So to be able to convey that in a game, I think is very, very unique. And that's where maybe one of the things is, and I'm no pro driver, but you've got to start thinking about jamming on the brake quickly and getting the weight transferring. Push the weight to the front of the car. Push the car down, give it some downforce, and then jam on the brakes so it's balanced, it's got weight going forward, and you can pull that car up and that aero starts working. And I tell you what, it really does work a treat. You'd be very, very surprised. But you can see through that right-hander there, I just was not keen to hold it through. And then I got the braking point wrong and the line wrong into that left-hander just then, and the car's squirreling. Like, where else do you get that type of simulation in a car racing game at the moment? Because I tell you what, as far as my experience tells me, you don't get it anywhere. Absolutely don't get it anywhere. And the other thing that I've learned with this car is you've really got to do all your braking before you get to the turn. Now I think we're going to move on to the next car here, and this is an Audi R8. Now, what's the difference between the GTS and the Audi R8? All the car buffs will know this is an all-wheel drive and it's a mid-engine mounted car. So the balance of this car is exceptional. Now, go back and have a look, but have a look at how hard I'm accelerating in this car. And that's because immediately I know there's going to be a substantially different level of grip in this car. Now, where else do you get that in a game? Alright, again, I don't think you don't get it anywhere. Now look, these tyres are cold. Have a look at the icons on my screen at the moment, and they're blue. But look, I'm still happy to try and turn this car in at, what are we doing there, 90 odd clicks an hour. Now, in the AMG GTS, there's no way I would have been able to have done that whatsoever. So for a game to be able to convey that feeling, now you can see my tyres are heated up now, to be able to say to you, this is a rear engine car with heaps of power and the engines, a rear wheel drive car with heaps of power and the engines at the front, I'm going to behave this way, compared to an all-wheel drive car, that is something spectacular as far as I'm concerned. Now have a look at how I handle this R8. So I overdid it into the first turn, but look, like that throttle is flat out at the moment. About 200 meters down here, we come over a rise, and in the AMG GTS, there's no way I held that flat because the car would rise and come back down again. And I knew when it come back down again and I pulled on that throttle, she'd squirrel everywhere and I'd probably end up and lose it into the wall. These are the types of things that you've got to think about if you're going to go buy project cars. Is this how serious that you want to get with it? And that probably leads, I'm going to leave you with this lap. And you know what, I don't think I do too badly in this lap. It's a pretty good lap and I manage it. But it leads me into the wheel space. The controller that I play this on, which by mention, I'm using the 20th anniversary at the moment. The controls are conveyed really, really well through here, and it's almost like when I hit a bump strip on the right-hand side of the car, then it rumbles on that side, and I think that's very, very clever. But Project Cars takes sim racing to a new level, and I think if you have a steering wheel, this game's going to be incredible. That's where you're going to make the most gains, you know. And I'd be confident to say that if I got into a setup and I had a good seat and a good wheel, I could probably be pushing 5 or 6 seconds off my lap time, because being able to manage that throttle and the brake and being able to work out my turning and whatnot and being able to pick gearing a little bit better and being able to coordinate with how far I'm turning and where the track's coming up, I think that would be a huge deal in this game. A lot of the guys off the page, in fact, PSGDers, all play this game with wheels, and I mean, they absolutely swear by it. Sure, as we said at the start, it has a few bugs and whatnot, but, you know, it's a pretty good game. So if you want some tips, right, go get into a private session and start picking cars that you can kind of predict how they're going to behave. Don't go all out and get some ridiculously high-classed car. Pick something simple. Pick a rear wheel, front wheel, and an all-wheel drive. Go and master them for a little bit. Start moving the braking points around. Get the weight transitioning forward. Pick up the throttle slowly, and you might have a bit more luck. But look, guys, that's just a quick one from me. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please give it a like and share maybe. But until next time, guys, enjoy a bit of Project Cars 2 and the PlayStation gaming. See ya.